Good evening, everybody. I'm going to stand in front of the screen here. I'm Rachel Donadio. I'm the curator of cultural programs here at the American Library in Paris, and it is a pleasure to welcome all of you here this evening as we kick off our fall season and our fall programming. We're delighted to welcome Thomas Schlesser and Alexandra Suich Bass, who will be discussing Thomas's book, Mona's Eyes, about a young girl's final year of sight. And this is the first program in our Ways of Seeing programming that's continuing throughout the year and through next spring. They'll be in conversation for about 45 minutes, and then we'll open up to questions from the audience. I'd love to introduce the speakers, excuse my shoulders, as we say in some languages. Thomas Schlesser is the director of the Hartung-Bergman Foundation in Antibes, France. He teaches art history at the École Polytechnique in Paris and is the author of several works of nonfiction about art, artists, and the relationship between art and politics in the 20th century. He is the grandson of André Schlesser, known as Dadé, a singer and cabaret performer who founded the Cabaret L Écluse. Mona's Eyes is Schlesser's second novel and his American debut. It has been translated into 38 languages, including Braille. Schlesser was awarded 2025's Author of the Year by Livres Hebdo. So can we have a big round of applause for Thomas? And Alexandra here is the Economist culture editor overseeing the paper's books, arts, and entertainment coverage. Until 2024, the position was based in London, and she moved the role to Paris to bring more attention to the city's cultural offerings and status as a global arts hub. Previously, she served as senior correspondent for politics, technology, and society, covering a range of political and public policy topics. Alexandra has also served as the Economist's finance correspondent and wrote about hedge funds, private equity, and insurance. Alexandra was named Britain's Young Financial Journalist of the Year by the Wincott Foundation. She graduated from Yale, where she double majored in history and African studies. So please join me in giving them both a big round of applause.
Rachel, thank you so much. Thomas, wonderful to be here. And thank you, everyone, for coming on this rainy day. Paris is a city full of many important cultural institutions, but I have to say that this library, in our family's eyes, is the most important one. So it's an honor to be here. Thomas, can we start? Many enthusiasts may have read your wonderful novel, who are in this room, but some may not. And so do you mind giving us just a very quick recap of the story and also how you arrived at the idea of writing it?
Yeah, the story is very simple. This is a little girl who is 10 years old, and she's threatened by blindness. She could become blind. And she had a wonderful grandfather called Henri, also known as Dadé, in reference to my own grandfather, even if the two characters has no relations. They are completely different. And this grandfather decides to conduct Mona every Wednesday in front of a work of art, just one, to put in her head the most beautiful things of the world. And of course, beauty is everywhere, but I think we can admit that the works of art are nearly always the most beautiful things there are in the world. So that's the very beginning of the story, and then there are, of course, a lot of little developments and many surprises.
How did you come up with the idea originally?
My God, that was a sad event, because 12 years ago I had a personal ordeal, a personal trial, as we can live in our existence. But the good news was that to overtake this problem, I had to invent my ideal child, you know. And this ideal child was Mona, who is modest, who is so intelligent, so smart, so pretty, so curious. And so that was really a way to respond to something which was a bit difficult for me, And the funny thing is that I needed 10 years to write this book. And in the novel, Mona is 10 years old. So I love this, this coincidence.
Did you set out, were you most animated and excited about writing a work of fiction, or were you most excited about writing a history of art that happened to be propelled through fictional stories?
I have to admit something. I haven't a vocation of novelist, okay?
This is your first, in fact.
That was my second, but if you want to believe this is the first, this is okay, because the first one...
It's been widely reported it was
so
your first,
awful.
for the record.
No, that's not true. And I think in life we shouldn't deny what we did when we are young. But my God, okay.
So, we'll come back to that, perhaps.
Yeah, sorry. So I think that in life it is important to materialize what we have to say in the best form, in the best. And so for me, when I had to say a lot of things about art, and especially about the links between art and politics, it is true that the essay was always the best way. Okay, an exhibition can be a very good way to express something about art, or a documentary. But in this case, that was a bit different, because this story is full of subjectivity. This is of course about art, but I would say that this is a coming-of-age novel through art. This is not really an initiation to art. This is an initiation to life through some works of art. So the novel was first, yes, really exciting and challenging, but that was the best way for me.
And what was the process like of choosing the artists and the works that you would include? How painful was that process? How long was your long list originally?
That was horribly frustrating, as you can imagine. At the very beginning of the redaction, there was a huge selection, because I thought I needed to speak about everything, about ancient art, about, of course, extra-occidental art, about cinema, about architecture, about everything. But, there are several rules in a tragedy, and especially you need a unity of time and a unity of space. And I wanted this novel to be really dramatical concerning the potential blindness of Mona. So that was a bit like a tragedy. So I needed two unities. The unity of space, that was Paris, and so only 3 museums, and the unity of time, that was a year, so only 22 weeks. And then you have the result. I need to narrow down, that's it, on this choice, Paris and 52 works. And after that, the choice had to be consistent with the character of Henri, of the grandfather, because he's in charge of selecting the works in front of which they will discuss. And Henri is a combination between someone who is a bit classical, but always very open, very curious. And in the book, I think there is a mix between some very iconic artists like Frida Kahlo, Picasso, Jean-Michel Basquiat, and some others who are maybe unknown, like, for example, this fantastic photograph with Julia Margaret Cameron. And even sometimes there are some very famous artists like Piet Mondrian, but with a work which is not really something we expect in front of such an artist.
So did you start with the works themselves and then decide which lesson to pull out, or which life lesson would be imparted through the work? Or did you start with the values and the ideas and then work backward to the works?
Difficult to say, but I would say this is 50-50. I'm not completely sure. I would say this is 50-50. And unfortunately, I lost the very first list I had at the beginning.
How did you lose it?
Because, my God, that was, an archive among others.
It's not like Hemingway with his manuscripts on a train or anything?
And that was 12 years ago, and I wasn't aware at all of the potential of the book. So that for me, that was nothing, only a paper. But that's really a regret. I think that among the first list, there are approximately 20% which are still in the book now. And for example, there were some works of art I was sure there will be in. For example, the Black Cross of Kazimierz Malevich, I was really sure that will be in the book. But sometimes I wondered, okay, is it okay or not? And I had to change some of them in order to make the story go on through another philosophical lesson.
Mm-hmm. So tell us about who got cut, who you wish you could have included.
Sorry?
Which artist and which works got cut that you wish you could have included? Like, who is the number one?
Oh my God, the number one. I would say Okuzai or Hiroshige, who are major inventors of the 19th century. Of course, Ilya Repin. My God, there are so many. Personally, one of my biggest frustrations, because she's one of my favorite artists, this is Joan Mitchell. The list is so big, and I feel so guilty.
Sorry to bring up a sore subject.
But, I would say that that's a way to avoid the question. I would say that this book is an invitation for the reader to create his own chapter with any work he likes to see.
And when you say that, is your expectation that your readers will pick up the book and read from start to end, or do you think it can work in some ways as for people who are art curious to dip in and out?
Alexandra, the book was very literary challenging behind the very simple aspect. And very often the readers, and that's not a reproach, there is no problem, but they are just focused on the lessons in front of the artworks, whereas there are different stories in the story, and each of them with a very, very challenging construction. So, my God, if you are not too lazy, I hope you will take it from the first page until the very, very last one.
Do you think this novel could have been set anywhere but Paris? Could you have set this novel in Rome and told the whole 500 years of art history?
I think that for sure, for example, in New York or in Madrid or in London or in Berlin, that would be very, very easy. But one of my dreams would be to know that someone in I don't know, in China or in Japan or would apply this kind of literary rule with another culture. That will be absolutely tremendous.
The novel has been an international bestseller. It's done differently in different countries. It's been hugely successful in France. And do you, when you look at the markets where it has been successful and where it's especially resonated, do you think it's about countries that are extremely interested in art? Is it countries where there's a lot of grandparents buying books? Because it's about the relationship between a grandfather and his granddaughter. What explains it, do you think?
I think that are the two main reasons. The link between grandparents and little children first, and secondly, the interest for art. But I have to say that some of the results in the world are really astonishing. For example, and I am speaking in front of Solène, who is in charge of the foreign rights at Albin Michel. For example, that was a big success in Turkey, we said, Turkey? In Turkey, yes, that was a big success in Turkey. And that for me, that was really unexpected and very, very good surprise. That was a huge success in Germany. And for example, I had the opportunity to travel to Romania and to speak. It is true that there is one Romanian artist in the book, Constantin Brancuș, fabulous abstract sculpture. And it is true that in Romania there is a big French tropism, it is true. But no, honestly, that was really unexpected, and that was incredible to speak with some readers, because sometimes you feel both very far. That's other ways of thinking, of seeing the world, and very close. So that was really, really moving. And of course, but I won't say which. There are some deceptions in some countries.
Well, newly translated into English, and you're about to embark on your tour in America. Presumably, you did not read the Turkish translation of Mona's Eyes, but you have read but you have read the English one. And to what? I'm very curious about your experience being translated, and to what extent you feel that the English version captures precisely how you wrote in your native French.
I think that the English version is better than mine. I think that the translator is better than the writer. That's really, really a fantastic version. I was extremely impressed by the sensitivity, the quality of the translation. And I had a lot of discussions with the different translators around the world, because sometimes there are some ambiguities and sometimes there are some mistakes in the French version. For example, in the French version, I said that Rainer Maria Rilke was a German poet. My God, he's Austrian. and that I know that the translators are really able to pay attention to what I wrote, and the English version obviously is absolutely fantastic.
How personal was the story? How biographical is this?
This is not biographical, because I'm not. My childhood was really, really different. But of course, this is hugely inspired by the mood, the atmosphere of my childhood. Like Mona, I was someone who was a child who was a bit melancholic, but and I am still now. But I had I was sure that melancholy was a luck. I was not extremely intelligent when I was a child, but I was very, very intelligent in terms of emotion. I was very emotionally. I was very mature, we can say that. I was extremely mature when I was 10 years old. So this is based on all my souvenirs, and especially I had a grandmother who shaped my upbringing. So I know the importance and the particularity, the originality of the link between grandparents and little children.
And hence the dedication to grandparents everywhere.
Absolutely. That's the reason of the dedication, absolutely.
Yes. Can you talk a bit more about your writing process? You mentioned that you've written this over 10 years. Did you write it sequentially in the way that it appears to readers? Did you restructure it? Talk to us about the process and how one keeps going over a decade.
The strange thing is that for me that was not an emergency. Okay, I was not really surrounded by this book. And in parallel of this book, I wrote and published 3 other books between 16 and 22. So that was like a background in my life.
How often would you come back to it during that period and work on it?
When I felt a bit lonely. Mona was a kind of light for me, you know. And for example, when that was the COVID, I was completely alone in the beautiful foundation I am the director of. And I tried to write a book about cuteness, an essay. I had a lot of material, but I was a bit lost in my project, and so that I decided to come back to Mona, and yes, in a way, she I wouldn't say that she saved my life. That's completely idiot, but she was really part of it. And after that, she was like. I would say a member of my family. That's strange, and I don't want to appear. I don't want to be. That's a kind of caricature of a writer. I know, you know, this character exists for true. But after 10 years of redaction and then 2 years of promotion, I can swear you that Mona is really in my life.
Without a doubt, I'm sure. So the book, as it reads today, how close is it to the original manuscript when you finished it, and how much had to be reshuffled and refined after you wrote it? Okay,
that's a very precise and very straight-to-the-point question. And as you know, normally a writer is a liar in this case of a question. And normally I would say nothing. That was a perfect manuscript. No, honestly, the manuscript was a bit long. So
how long?
Okay, so I am really bad with numbers in English, but this is 860,000 signes, 8,000. My God, 860,000.
Wait, 100,000.
I'm sorry, and yeah. And
which is how many words? That's how Americans think.
In the United States, we speak in words, and in French in little characters. So I would say that there was 7% of the original manuscript which was cut, and 7%, and that's not nothing. That's substantial. And when I was in front of, this little, that was a bit shocking for me in the first time. And then I realized that, that was the best substance which was here. So that was a great job of my publisher.
I think I know everyone thinks that their writing, 6 to 7% doesn't actually seem like that much to cut. I mean, maybe spoken as an editor who will slash people's articles by 50% or something.
I am relieved.
If you were to describe, so you have these really fascinating points from every artist that you've brought out. If you were to talk to, given given the time you've spent both with the characters, but also the philosophies that you espouse in the books, in the book, if you were to tell a 10-year-old what the most important takeaway is, the one work to study and the one life lesson, what would you say?
Obviously, the most important takeaway is the first one. You have to learn to receive. That's really, I think, the key in life, both for someone in particular, but at a collective scale as well. Because when you know how to receive, you are in the middle of three major actions in society. First, giving, finally, giving back, and at the center, receiving. Okay? So what George Orwell calls the common decency is possible when a child understands that he has to, or she has to receive. And secondly, learning to receive consists in learning to learn and to be independent, to grow up by oneself. So, yeah, I would say that this is the major rule of the book.
I'd like to ask you about the place of art in society and how optimistic you are. There's one line of thought that art is able to reach ever more people thanks to the internet. If you go on Instagram, works have far larger audiences, both some of the works that you write about and then the works that some of us never even hear about, but people are empowered to share their art. Some might say that another line of thought is that people are spending way too much time watching addictive videos on TikTok and not looking at some of the masterpieces that teach us about the world and how to live. Which camp do you fall in?
My God, this is so difficult to avoid the addictive practice of TikTok or YouTube. I am concerned as well, and that's not so easy. Honestly, yesterday I spent maybe 40 or 50 minutes in front of some stupid things on YouTube, because this is stronger than ourselves. And the first thing to admit, if we want to go on and to overtake those difficulties, the first thing we have to admit is that we are concerned. Not only our children, not only my students, I am concerned as well. Secondly, I realize that when I am alone, I am pessimistic. When I am only with my brain in myself, revolving on my obsessive questions, I am pessimistic. But every time I am with human beings, for example, this evening, I am super optimistic. Because, my God, I'm sure you share, most of you, this opinion. The energy we feel, even if it is tense, even if it is sometimes conflictual, contradictory, the energy we feel when we are together, the contact with human beings, this is really the best reason to hope with every human being, even with the most idiot one, for example, at the end of the United States, or I don't know. I'm sure there is something there is something to catch. Maybe the haircut.
I don't want to take you, if you're on an optimistic streak tonight, I don't want to take you back to a more pessimistic one.
You can.
Okay, but I will ask you, as it relates to young people's study of art history, funding for cultural institutions. I mean, France this stands very tall. You've seen huge cuts in Britain, in the United States recently as it relates to museums and cultural institutions. How do we get young people more interested in art and art history, do you think, in that environment?
they will interest by their own. We don't have any ways to make them like art history. They will find their own path. You know, Alexandra, when I was a teenager, art, painting, sculpture was nothing for me. I was not sensitive at all. My main sensitivity was for video games. And video games, aesthetically, I mean, not only I was not a hardcore player, but I was fascinated by graphisms and so on in video games. And some years later, I had the opportunity to feel what we call grand art. But that was a long path. Maybe it could have turned completely different. I have no lesson to convey to the new generation. They will do the job as they want, and if they don't want, that's a pity, but that's life.
And are you optimistic and excited about how art itself is evolving? I mean, you spend a lot of time describing canvases. Today, art has evolved hugely and encompasses things that Dadé may never have imagined. How do you think it's going to evolve?
I'm sorry, because there is a gap in my heart, in my soul, and in my brain. I am a bit classical and conservatory in terms of daily life and general visions. But in terms of art, I am very progressive, and I love contemporary art. I love it. I love all the forms of art, all the inventions. I think that artists, even if they are sometimes a bit weak or easy, they always propose something, and I love looking at their propositions. And there are a lot of things which are really bold, really dareful today. That will be a long time to speak about it. But just to make the connection with Mona's eyes, as you know, at the end of the book, there are several chapters which are devoted to conceptual art, abstract art, installations, for example, with Bourgeois, Marina Abramovic, or Christian Boltanski. And I am very proud of it, because I think for a reader, there is this journey from Vinci to Pierre Soulages and Louise Bourgeois, and this is easier to understand Louise Bourgeois when we have Léonard de Vinci in the head as a background. So I hope this book was a good initiation to some types of art which are sometimes a bit underestimated by the society, the large audience, because this is not underestimated by the cultural institutions, of course. You talk about underappreciated art. I smiled when I read your chapter on the Mona Lisa, because it's very clear you think it is overrated, the Mona Lisa. Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about the cults of personality and obsession that the Mona Lisa has become, and what work you think is the most underappreciated in Western art? Concerning Mona Lisa, there is a trap. You cannot really appreciate it because you know too much about it. So, you know, this is like someone you are told about, and you are told that is or she is so clever, beautiful, incredible. You will fall in love, and so on. So, of course, the destiny will be a big frustration. This is the same with Mona Lisa. The story of Mona Lisa is very particular because the legend of Mona Lisa was really constructed in the 19th century for good and bad reasons, rather for good reasons. But and after that, and then at the beginning of the 20th century, there is the stills of the painting, so that, and then the parody by Marcel Duchamp. So it's such a legend that you cannot really be convinced by this painting. But please trust me, when you are an art historian and when you know so many, so when you have in head so many works of the rebirth, you know that this particular painting is absolutely incredible above everything. That's a madness, a fabulous moment of humankind itself.
What work do you think is most underappreciated? And it might be one in the book, but if you had to choose one for Western art.
You mean
by the general public? Which work is hugely important that people just no longer pay attention to in 2025?
That's a super question. I would say maybe 10 years ago, I would have answered woman artist. But now the job is not done, but that's completely different. The paradigm has completely changed. Okay, so there is still a lot to do, but the epoch is not the same anymore. Maybe, but this is a bit subjective. Okay, I would say the lessons of Kazimierz Malevich and suprematism, maybe. Because Malevich is underappreciated by a large audience because this is very simple, only geometrical shapes, a circle, a triangle, a line, a simple color. And behind this simplicity, there is a spirit of revolution, okay, in a very particular historical context. We are in 1915. This is the very first seeds of the Russian Revolution. And then Malevich, who was a revolutionary, has been hunted, has been harassed, has been killed by the revolution he contributed to trigger. That's very, very interesting. And I think that's something we should always keep in mind.
I want to open it up for questions shortly, but I think probably a lot of people in the audience who are working on their own book or have been watching, their heart fluttered a little bit with optimism when they had heard that you had written a novel, which we don't have to talk about, before Mona's Eyes. Coming off of the experience with Mona's Eyes, what is something that you've learned, or what is advice that you would give to either aspiring writers or writers who have published that you wish you had known when you had embarked on Mona's Eyes?
My God, so many things, but the question I always revolve around is the question of freedom of spirit, freedom of state of mind. And I would say this is always the obsessive question.
Can you say more?
Yeah, I can say more. I'm always afraid of censorship, and especially towards myself, okay? And for me, the nodal point of a life consists in always opening his mind on everything. I hope this book is a way to open mind. And when I read a book, this is the main thing I am looking for. Yes, I would say that, but this is both a very common answer incomplete answer. But one day I will try to write about that.
Excellent. Well, thank you. Questions from all of you?
If you have a question, please raise your hand high and we'll bring you the microphone. Oh.
Hi, thank you. I haven't read your book yet, but I bought one tonight. As I was paging through it, I was searching for images of the paintings, and they're not in there. And so I'm just curious how you made a choice about that. Because I'll be looking on the internet to find it. Some of those paintings I don't know.
If you open up the
we have
dust
good news for you.
It all unfolds for you. But it's actually a very neat question, which is, I mean, it feels a bit like it's a design innovation.
Yeah.
It's an interesting choice not to put it in text.
First that was an idea of my French publisher Nicolas de Cointet. But I have to answer your question, because when I wrote Mona, I was not sure there would be. I was not sure that would be published, and I was not sure there would be some image. And you know, Mona's eyes is about blindness. So when I was writing it, I told to myself, okay, this novel, even if it is about visual art, it should be read by people who are visually impaired, by blind people. So that in the book there are some passages which are descriptions in italics, I think we say in English, in italics. That's what we called in ancient Greek ekphrasis. What is an ekphrasis? This is a way to describe so precisely something that there is an hallucinatory aspect in the mind. Okay? So I don't say I succeed. I don't say I managed to do it. But that was the challenge. Describing visual art and talking about it in a way to make this book completely inclusive. And of course, I mean, completely inclusive for people who are visually impaired. And for people who can see, who have a perfect sight, that can be a way to read it without the image, just by imagining the works of art. Some of them are very well known, but some of them are not. So you will make the choice tonight.
Other questions?
Thank you. I graduated in art history in another generation, and it was so dry, so dusty, so heavily Germanic that it could kill your interest in the whole topic forever. So I think this is very much a gift that's rewrapped, and oh yes, it's a rewrapped gift that's given back to the population of someone who wants to read it. I think it's a marvelous gift. I thought that the way you approached it too, with such levity. One of my favorite scenes as a parent and a grandparent is going into a room and discovering that everything in it, except for a Seurat poster and something else, was heavily plastic and trivialized. And this junk that children grow up with, what can you do to correct that vision?
Do you have a question?
Yes.
Sorry, this is actually my mother, so sorry. Sorry to interrupt, but I was told to make cute people on point.
What I particularly enjoyed was another topic completely. My daughter tells me I should stay on topic, but I enjoyed very much the delineation that you created between kind of psychosomatic illness and what really is in reality a truth. And I thought the way you worked with it dialectically was absolutely fascinating on a whole other level of being about paintings. So I thought it was just so brilliantly done. I wanted to thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. No, thank you, because that was a remark. So I will ask you a question. How are you?
No, how are you? There was no
joke,
question
sorry.
at the end. So, other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. In America, I am a part of a book group. Book groups are very big in America. My particular group, there's artists, there's writers, publishers, small group, but they're in this whole area. My question is, many of them listen to audiobooks. So I'm rather curious if you have ideas, since audiobooks are very popular in America, how you would have, what the speaker would be, and also how you would deal with, it's kind of interesting because you're not reading, but you're listening, and so that concept of someone who's blind anyway. And I was just curious if maybe at the end you would show the pieces of art as well. Anyway, that's my question.
Thank you for your question. In France, there is a beautiful audiobook, and the main question was, do we need a male or a female voice? And this is a male voice. And of course, this is not so easy because there are a lot of dialogues involving a little girl. But in my opinion, this is really great because this is not, this is not theater. This is really a good reading of a novel. I would be very interested in having another voice for another version. And
have you listened to the English language version of? Have you listened to the audiobook in English yet? I have, actually.
My God, really?
Yeah.
So,
and I think it's a fascinating thing because again, these are your words, but often authors don't have a say on how the audiobooks go. There's and it's its own unique experience, but it's nicely done.
I am relieved.
It's a woman.
So it's a woman.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fantastic. The world is really well done.
Thank you so much. That was a really great discussion, very animated. I was thinking of what you were saying about, I do think it's really important that young people look at art and take time to see it in person if they have the access in a city like Paris or Toronto, where I grew up. You can go look at art. And you were saying that very optimistically, you think they'll find their way to it, but I just wanted to push back a bit because I wonder if, because this book is about someone older taking someone younger and bringing them to art, and I know one thing for me was learning how much of the things that I really love today that are modern are actually inspired by things that were created a long time ago. You brought up video games. I used to be a video game reviewer and played video games professionally, and I was thinking of The Legend of Zelda. There's a really famous link on a mountain. It's actually a Frederick Wanderer in the fog romantic painting, and they copied that. Yeah. You see that a lot in Halo as well, also beautiful graphics, aging myself a little bit here. Or Hopper and Hitchcock. So I wonder if that is a way to lead young people to look at what came before. Yeah,
you're right. I think maybe I'm too much optimistic, but I think this is a question of time. And when you are really impressed, for example, by some games like Red Dead Redemption 2, for example, this is a very good way to be sensitive to light, to colors, to composition of a landscape. That's absolutely incredible. And I would be very interested in taking with me some hardcore gamers of GTA, of Red Dead Redemption, and to make them realize that this is so close to beautiful ancient art, and especially art of the 19th century. This is sometimes a very good way to create a connection. The art of the 19th century is really meaningful, I think, because there are beautiful landscapes, still lifes with a lot of precision, and a kind of madness as well in the 19th century. I would add, just in a few words, that of course video games is not the only way to go to ancient art. For example, I'm not very fond of urban art, but I know that this is something very important for a lot of people. And through urban art, you can discover Jean-Michel Basquiat, and through Jean-Michel Basquiat, the art of vanity of the 17th century. So you need always a few steps. Sometimes it takes time, but that's so fantastic to have time, you know? And that's so fantastic to discover things step by step. You know, before enjoying a good wine or a coffee, you need to test and to taste sugar. And then, after a few years, this is possible. I think this is often the same with ancient art. You need to be surrounded by some image, and for a reason or another, one day, you will have a shock. And just a very last word about that. My God, the exhibitions and the museums are full of people. This is a good sign. Of course, that could be best shared between all the part of society. I know that this is rather the bourgeois than the workers which are in the museum, of course. But first, the museums conduct a fantastic job to be super inclusive. And secondly, my God, there are really, I insist, a lot of people, and it means that, nothing is won, but nothing is lost.
Well, I think that's especially true in Paris. It's not, I think, universally true. With you're about to go to America. There are a lot of museums still suffering post-COVID with attendance. But you'll be hearing about that, I'm sure, from people.
That's a good counter-argument.
I think we have time for one more question.
I haven't read your book yet, but I'm looking forward to reading it. I think you said in your intro that you focused on 3 museums.
I focused on, sorry?
3 museums?
3 museums, yes, absolutely.
I was just wondering which museums they were and why did you limit it to only 3?
Yeah, so there are the Louvre, the Orsay Museum, and the Pompidou Center, which is now closed, but you can see the collections all everywhere in France. They are displayed everywhere. Because, first, I love those museums. They are really universal. And secondly, they were like 3 acts in a tragedy, 3 parts of a tragedy, 3 acts in a tragedy, with a good balance between something universal and something a bit close on itself, which is the Occidental period between rebirth and now. And I know that's not a way to say that Occidental art is better, not at all. But that was a way to be consistent with the character of Henri, and to have a very specific unity. I was a bit embarrassed by the idea. Maybe there could be some marks of Oriental art in order to say, there is no. That wouldn't have been serious. That would have been a bit embarrassing. So that's that's the structure of the book, and I hope you will enjoy it.
Thomas, thank you so much. We all enjoyed this hugely, and thank you to all of you.